Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of A Cast to the Past, the show where we take a look back at some of the best games and movies from the 80s, 90s, and even as soon as just a couple of years ago, and ride that nostalgia train, if you will. Today, if you noticed, I'm the host of the podcast, Ryan McNulty.
Where's Juan?
And joining me, of course, is Keith Hamilton.
That's me?
Yes.
So, not Juan.
Yeah, not Juan, the usual host of this show.
Where'd he go? I'm lost.
Nobody knows. But anyway, Juan had some much-deserved time off from the show, and we're going to do something that we've done multiple times in the past.
Yeah, he's doing like adult things right now where we talk about movies adulting. And video games.
Yes.
He's adulting hard.
He is adulting hard, and we're sitting here talking about, talking about video games, talking about movies. I got a Bulbasaur in my background. Clearly, I'm such an adult.
I have a Lugia right in front of me, so I'm no better.
Exactly. We're just sitting here playing Pokemon. But we're going to do something that we've done a couple times in the past, and that is what we call Off the Rails, where it's a good chance for us to catch up on some of the newer media that we've experienced over the past month or so, and just kind of catch up in that fashion. It's very much agenda-free, and we very much so go off the rails.
And the Christmas holiday is the perfect time to do that, because I don't know about you, but I've had a pretty good amount of downtime where I've just sat and consumed things over the last few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had a couple 2-day work weeks, sort of. I mean, I've had to do a little bit of working from home as well, but the way the holidays fell,
Yeah, I don't know how it worked for you, but there was like a week there where I had to, I think it was Christmas week. I'm just going to look at my calendar just to double check. Yeah, where I had to like work one day on Monday and then like half a day Christmas Eve, have 3 days off, and then go back for Friday. It was one of the screwiest work weeks I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, I had a lot of I took the Monday off before Christmas, so I gave myself a pretty nice break there, but then came back for a 2-day work week, worked from home on a Monday, had another 2 days off, and then had another 2-day work week. So this is my first day back, because we're recording, as of this recording, my first day back on a Monday for a 5-day week that we have not... I haven't done a 5-day week and it feels like a month, so...
It's going to be a real rough week.
Yeah, it is going to be a long week. But over that time, Keith, what was something something you played or watched? Anything interesting?
So, like Ryan mentioned, we're recording this on January 6th, to be exact, and for the last 2 days, there's this little event that happened in Japan called Wrestle Kingdom that I have just been entrenched in over the last couple of days. So, normally it's like one big event on January 4th every year, and then... they decided to span it out this year and span it out into 2 days, something that I think that WrestleMania really, really needs to do, make it a 2-day event where it's not just this giant marathon of wrestling. And I've spent the last 2 days kind of just gorging all of the wrestling that I can possibly consume, and oh my god, it's been so good. I don't really follow New Japan all that much these days, just because there's so much other wrestling, but... this is the beginning of what I call wrestling season of
we're hitting that time where we're heading into
Royal Rumble,
WrestleMania, and of course what follows WrestleMania is many other wrestling promotions kind of capitalizing on that. So there's a lot of big events happening all around the same time.
Wrestling fever is happening right now, and I've been caught up in it real big, and just kind of catching up on other New Japan stuff throughout 2019, and then watching 2 days worth of Wrestle Kingdom. It was good, but it was a lot of wrestling. That's how I spent the last couple of days. That, and been playing a lot of Pokemon still. We have a couple episodes in the archive about our thoughts on Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I can't stop playing Pokemon Sword or Shield. I love it. I think I'm gonna take a run at VGC, Ryan.
I'm proud of you, because I've way back in the day, in the Soul Silver days, I made one competitive Pokemon, and all the work that it took, I was
I
like,
imagine
I'm
it's
done.
a lot easier these days.
I know they've made it
because
easier, but I feel like I've kind of shied away from it.
leveling up is hard in Pokemon Sword or Shield, where you want to like get everything to level 100. That's actually really challenging, I find, because the only good way to do it's a lot of max raid battling, but compared to the horror stories I hear, EV training isn't that bad in this game, and I've fallen in
Yeah,
love with
I know
like
they've
building
added a
teams.
lot of items to make that easier. Me personally, after I completed the Pokedex and got one shiny Pokemon that I hunted, I really haven't touched the game that much. I may come back
Which
to it.
shiny did you get?
I got a shiny Scentiscorch, or
That's a good one.
yes, what is Sizzlipede? I think is the first form, but I did evolve it.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's not like amazing competitively viable or whatever, but that's one of my favorite Pokemons that they added in this generation.
actually
So it's the
not
one I
bad.
went for.
The thing that I love about, and I think that's why I'm gravitating towards VGC now, because the whole lack of national decks, in my opinion, kind of works in its favor for Pokemon Sword and Shield, because now you're dealing with this limited pool of Pokemon. It has a lot of opportunities for less competitive things from back in the day. It gives it more opportunity to shine, where you're not just kind of going towards the things that worked before, because a lot of those things don't exist now. Yeah, there are a few examples that work, but a lot of things that are given an opportunity to shine, like one thing that I've been working on a lot lately is Snorlax, because there's this new version of Snorlax that came out recently that seems a lot of fun to me, where he can replenish his own berries, and I'm kind of getting in the weeds now with competitive Pokemon, but just like thinking of strategies like, okay, I want to make a Snorlax that bulks up his own attack and then next turn can just sweep people. How do I build a strategy, a double strategy that has something take a hit so Snorlax can do that belly drum in this case, and then be able to sweep people? So now I'm looking at things like Indeedee and Togekiss and thinking about their follow me attack that's basically a taunt in Pokemon, and it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed my VGC thinking. To me, it's like chess, where instead of having your normal chess pieces, you have 400 chess pieces, and because you can only bring in certain parts of your party, you never really run into mirror matches all that much, because you have that few Pokemon float that you can adjust for mirror matches, and you never really run into like, oh, I'm facing the exact same thing as somebody else, and I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know one of the goals that they had with this new Pokemon generation was part of the reason, or excuse maybe, was they were reducing the number of Pokemon for balance reasons. So it's cool to hear that.
And I think they succeeded.
Yeah, it's cool to hear that.
Because you just said he's not that good, but I got my butt whooped by a Scentiscorch earlier today.
No, I meant the one I have is as far as like nature and things.
Okay,
but
I gotcha.
I don't know I don't know which Pokemon are competitively viable.
But the cool thing is, like anything you get now, they have items in the game that you can change. Like, you're not just stuck with a nature. You can use a mint and change its nature. So you can make that thing compatible. You can make it so it has all the best IVs. It's great. I need to stop talking about Pokemon this deep.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
You could really get into the weeds with it. One of the things that to kind of switch gears to TV, and this is a show I just finished. It finished up a couple weeks ago. It's called Mr. Robot, and we watched.
You've been a fan of that for a while,
I have,
right?
and when we were watching wrestling back in the day, we watched the USA Network. I remember seeing the advertisements for it, and I'm like, oh, that show looks kind of cool, but I didn't really get around to it until about a year and a half ago. But the fourth and final season just finished up about 3 weeks ago. I waited until the season was basically done, and then I binge watched the entire
That's the
final
way to
season.
do it.
Yeah. So that was a great thing to do over the past, over the holiday break. And I have to say, the final season did not disappoint. What I love about this show was the director, Sam Esmail, and he's like the writer director, basically the entire like guy behind the show. He had a vision from start to finish. So it's 4 seasons because he wanted it to be 4 seasons. So we don't have a Dexter situation going on or any of these shows that outstay their welcome, or
I love that.
yeah,
You don't see that
it
much these days,
or
where
have
it's
no
like, I
idea
have
how
a
they're going to
plan, I'm
end it.
sticking to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a complete vision from start to finish. Not to mention, from season 2 onward, he directed every single episode, which you do not see in TV ever.
No.
That's like a suicide mission, basically, to have to direct every single episode of TV, because it's like directing 40 movies, basically. But yeah, it's an incredible show from an acting perspective, from just cinematography.
So what's the concept of Mr. Robot? I've never really understood it.
It's about this hacker guy, basically named Elliot, who's played by Rami Malek, who's kind of becoming a big
Freddie
star.
Mercury.
Yeah, aka Freddie Mercury for Bohemian Rhapsody. And he's really becoming, he's blowing up right now, basically. But he's this hacker, and he's trying to take down this big corporation that basically runs the world. And there's, the whole process of making that happen, and then the fallout of what happens. And also just looking into, because he's a character who has a lot of mental health issues and is like very lonely, and it also is looking very inward into like how his perception of the world. And sometimes it's interesting because the show, he's like the narrator of the show, but he's an unreliable narrator. What he's telling you isn't necessarily always what's actually happening. So
interesting.
It is very interesting. Highly recommended to anyone who's looking for a new show to binge watch, because you know what, the full series is out. If you have Prime, you can watch the first 3 seasons right away, and then the final season you are probably going to need like a login of your cable provider, and you can watch it on the USA
app. It'll probably show up eventually.
Like I have
though.
Sling TV, and I was able to watch with commercials, like on demand, basically on that, watch the full 4th season. But
that's awesome.
So yeah, super recommend. Very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Kind of on the other end of that, a TV show that I checked out recently that kind of hard to give a recommendation to, but I found it interesting, was that new show on the Apple TV service. So it's the TV provided by Apple on the Apple TV. It's a weird one to describe.
Yeah.
But that morning show I think called
the morning show
the morning show about the morning show. It's a fascinating watch in the way that they do the entertainment business so well, in that where kind of like the behind the scenes meetings and dealings with the higher ups, they make it very close to real life.
Is there anyone famous in that? I feel like I've heard
maybe
about
you've a couple names you might have heard of, like Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon and Steve Carell, and but no, they actually got some really big names for that. And being in the entertainment industry, they do a wonderful job of just like the political BS that you hear sometimes from higher ups in a company, and the whitewashing of bad events. It's really fascinating from that point of view, but it's a show that I think tries a little bit too hard for what I like. Mm-hmm. The best way to describe it is, it felt like the writer's room had a bingo card of heavy-hitting political issues going on in the world right now. And every episode, they had to complete a line like, okay, in 1 minute they're talking about the Me Too movement, and now they're talking about wildfires in California, and then they're talking about like sexual misconduct in the workplace, and then racism and stuff like that. And it's kind of plagued by that a little too much. It's a little too heavy-handed, but it's worth a watch.
No, I definitely get that. I just recently saw that movie Bombshell, which is about the whole like Fox News, Roger Ailes, like sexual harassment scandal that went on. And, they did a very good job of, basically capturing all the personalities at Fox News, like the Charlize Theron. I can never say her name right, but she plays like Megyn
Sounds
Kelly, the Fox News anchor, and they made her look exactly like her. But I feel like it was kind of too soon to make the movie because this is something that only happened a few years ago, like literally less than 4 years ago. So it just seems like too soon. So a lot, like you said, a lot of the things they touch on, it just doesn't seem like it's had enough time to settle. But and just kind of the way that they're trying to make some of these personalities heroes, even though they're not necessarily heroes. But of course, the underlying message of just having women stand up when things like this are going on is obviously a very valid one. It's just kind of the other things surrounding it that are just make it feel a little conflicting. But otherwise, like all the acting and how they basically impersonate some of these people is pretty amazing. So it's just a very strange movie.
One thing I do want to give the morning show credit for is, well, like they make a really, really, really good villain in this, almost uncomfortably, where they take the role that Steve Carell normally plays and kind of flip it on its head in an uncomfortable way, because Steve Carell is the villain in this show. He's the one that's like all the sexual allegations are against. And
oh wow.
When I say a Steve Carell movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly
definitely
what role he plays. Michael Scott, 40-year-old virgin. You're waiting for that the entire time. Like, he goes on this tirade about being like, I'm not a sexual predator. It was consensual.
So is
and
this
you're
like,
waiting for this joke, but it just never.
So it's like
never
Michael
comes.
Scott, but there's no punchline.
Kind of, yeah.
Because Michael Scott has definitely done some very like sexual harassment level stuff, but
there's no joke around it. It's
the joke
super
happens,
serious.
but in this there's no joke. Yeah, I could see, just because like all the stuff that we've seen from Steve Carell, our perception, we're just waiting for it, but it's not gonna happen. That's pretty interesting.
It's fun from that way.
Yeah. Now,
so what else?
I was
else
gonna
you been
say,
doing?
there's a little series that's been blowing up that I haven't finished yet, but I'm just restarting. It's The Witcher, of course. Everyone's talking about The Witcher. I don't know. Have you watched it yet?
I haven't seen the show yet, but all of the hype around this Netflix series has made me want to go play The Witcher 3. So I've reinstalled that.
Yeah,
I'll probably end up doing that before I watch the show.
I want to go and play The Witcher 3 now as well.
Have you ever played it before?
No, I've never played a single Witcher game.
It is wonderful. You're not missing much by only playing 3, but oh my god, it is so good. I'm going to send you a few mods I recommend, because just like quality of life stuff.
I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to be able to run it on my computer, but I may be getting an Xbox One soon. So we'll have to connect on
Real
that.
talk.
Yes, yeah.
Let's have a sit down here.
Yeah.
Don't buy an Xbox One.
I'll just say a deal has come my way that I can't pass up, so I'll probably be picking one up.
But the new one's coming out in like 11 months.
Trust me, I might be getting it for like $100. So
okay,
yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Okay.
Plus, you guys always rave about Xbox Arcade or Game Pass, whatever it is.
Game Pass.
So
yes,
I could jump on that.
Game Pass is so good.
But anyway, with the Witcher show, basically what happened, I was watching it with my roommates, but I was playing video games, so it kind of was on in the background and I wasn't fully paying attention. We got through like 5 episodes and I realized this is a show you really need to pay attention because, and this is not a spoiler, they kind of jump around timelines. So if you're not paying attention, it's a little easy to get lost. But now I've gone back, I've rewatched the first episode, so I'm all in and I'm going to continue watching it. But what I really like, even though the critics have really panned it because maybe they just don't get it, it has a super high audience score. Everyone's talking about it. A lot of people are enjoying it. The writing's not amazing, but special effects and everything look great. Costumes look great.
That's a bit of a bummer because the writing in the games is like bar none.
Yeah, it's definitely
fantastic.
A little cliche in spots, but it's still a very entertaining show. It's not enough to completely ruin it.
I've heard it's very gory. Like my neighbor told me.
Based on the first couple episodes, it is.
Mm-hmm. That it's like it makes Game of Thrones look like a walk in the park with how gory it gets and violent it gets.
Yeah, I'll have to see it through more. Definitely the first episode, there's a scene where it is very gory, but Game of Thrones had quite a bit of gore. And obviously, when you look at like kind of the budget level and stuff, it's not going to be on the same level. But I think the show looks very good. And what's his name?
You could also argue that as the budget went up in price, the Game of Thrones got a little worse.
Yeah,
so maybe that's not a bad
what's
thing.
Superman's name? It's like Cavill. Is it Henry Cavill? Is that his name?
Oh, the actor? I never remember his name.
I think that's his name. If I got it wrong, forgive me. But his portrayal of Geralt is like spot on. He has that sandpaper gritty voice and does a very good job of just looking the part. Like he looks like a video game character. So
wonderful.
They really nailed it there. And sort of the thing that I'm more excited about than this actual show is this seems to be a success. And obviously we're going to get more seasons, hopefully, because it seems like it's a big hit in the eyes of the audience of Netflix, and that's what matters. This could open the door for a successful way to portray video games.
Netflix has like low-key been killing it in that front. Have you ever seen the animated Castlevania show on Netflix?
No, but I've also heard that that's very good.
It's awesome. So this is the second time that Netflix has knocked it out of the park with that. It's
in the live actionness too. Like that's kind of the step where certainly I feel like it's easier to translate video games if you're doing like an animated show, and I'm glad.
But not even that.
Yeah.
But my biggest issue always with video game movies is just their need to cram so much into this 2.5 hour chunk. So if Netflix is approaching it through series where you have like an 8-episode run, maybe multiple seasons, it gives time to tell a video game story, because normally they're dished out through 20-hour, 30-hour, upwards of like 100-hour stories. So trying to cram that all into one thing just hasn't worked in the past. Very rarely has it worked. And the Netflix approach, it seems to be working, and I hope they do explore more of it. Because even with the rumors, I mean, we feel very differently about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I think it looks miserable and I hate it, but just you
gotta see it. I mean, I want to see it through, but
I don't really want to. I think it looks like garbage, and I don't like the fact that they changed that trailer, and it makes me angry that everybody sees it as a success, because think about all the people whose lives they basically destroyed for a couple of weeks just to make that trailer look nice. Because I imagine there's some poor CG people that suffered for that.
Oh, and absolutely.
And it makes me mad that everybody got away with it. But no, the video game movie has always been a tough one for me, and there's just such a long list of bad ones, and the Netflix seems to be doing good. So I hope this approach continues.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think, okay, with The Witcher, there's enough books and games for them to draw this series out for basically as long as they want. And
I know it's the easy answer, but imagine Warcraft as doing something like that.
Yeah.
Like the Warcraft movie sucked. It was not good, but imagine if they had...
It's too much to cram. Yeah, and
exactly,
that's what I was going to say.
Opportunity at an 8-episode run.
The situation Netflix is in right now, where the streaming services have blown up, everyone's pulling out of their Netflix deal to go and be a part of their own streaming service, right? So Netflix smartly knew this was coming years ago and has been investing in original content, and we've seen it be pretty successful, in my opinion. I mean, we've seen things like Stranger Things and other series start to come about. And in that, like, Paul Rudd series was pretty good too. I don't know if you've seen that one, but
I haven't.
The one where he has like a clone of himself. That one's also pretty good and really quick to watch. But Netflix could really capitalize on the whole video game market, basically, after seeing The Witcher take off. Then maybe they should open up the doors for another series. I don't know if they'd be able to get the licensing for Warcraft, but, there's plenty of other series that they could do. I mean, there's so many video game movie opportunities that have been squandered. I mean, you have
Absolutely.
you have a million.
Like imagine like a Final Fantasy series
you
where
have
every
Final
season's
Fantasy,
a different Final Fantasy or
you
something.
have a million Assassin's Creed games that they could probably do way better than
and again
they did.
another crap movie.
Then doing another crap movie. There's so many opportunities out there, and I hope The Witcher is the one that opens the doors for that, because this may turn out to be the best video game, movie, TV show, whatever, to come out. Granted, the bar's been low for a while, but maybe this will be the series that turns the tide, and I really hope that's the case.
Agreed, and you should really check out Castlevania if you're excited about The Witcher.
I will. I'll have to. I don't know a ton about Castlevania lore or the story or anything. So
hey, guess what? Dracula wants to kill people. He has a castle there. You need everything you need to know about Castlevania.
Awesome. Is there anything else going on, Keith? Any other big thing you wanted to talk about?
Honestly, not really. It's just been a lot of wrestling, a lot of competitive Pokemon watching, and then as we record this, I've been kind of going deep into AGDQ. It's currently taking place, and just watching a lot of speedruns from that.
All games done quick, right? Is that
awesome games done quick?
Games done quick. It's a big speedrunning event that usually lasts a week, nonstop. So it's as of this upload, it's the last day, right? Wouldn't it be?
So go back and watch the archive. Yeah,
watch the archives. That's what I normally do anyway, because the things I want to watch, I'm not always available to watch at that time. But I usually just watch the Zelda runs or some other games that I care about.
I watched a Skyward Sword run yesterday.
I was watching a little bit of that last night.
Skyward Sword doesn't look like a good game. I'm sure that's a conversation for another podcast.
But speaking of Sky, Keith, I just want to ask quickly to end our little show here. Have you seen The Rise of Skywalker?
I have seen The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
I saw it opening weekend. I love Star Wars. I like to give myself a couple of days after the movie comes out, because as much as I love Star Wars, I don't like people that like Star Wars.
It's understandable.
Anytime that I'm in a group of people that are okay, here's a good story, and it's probably going to make me sound like an asshole. Pardon my language, but when I went to see The Force Awakens, we went to like the 18 plus theater. I imagine they have those around there, like theaters where they serve alcohol and you can like sit down in a reclining chair.
Maybe there are some, but I've never actually been to one. I know there's one where it's like
they're called VIP theaters here.
I think we might have like a theater where one showing will have that or something, but it's not a typical thing.
Yeah, so anyway, went to see The Force Awakens there, and then the person that I sat beside was like hooting and hollering for the entire movie. Like when the Millennium Falcon came on screen, he was like, "Yeah, Falcon!" And I wanted to knock his lights out. I was willing to not see The Force Awakens just for how badly I wanted to fight that person.
I feel like that's justified. You shouldn't feel bad about that.
Yeah, fair.
All right.
So yes, I've seen Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. Yes. So I was going to say, everyone out there is talking about Star Wars, so I figured just with spoiler free, give me your like 2-sentence take on the movie, if you can summarize it.
Spoiler free. I enjoyed it, but it has its flaws. I don't think it's the worst movie of this trilogy, but it makes me like The Last Jedi least, because after seeing it, I want to see what J.J. Abrams could have done with 3 movies. I would still watch it. It is a Star Wars fanboy gush.
Yeah.
For 2.5 hours.
It was a fun movie, I would say. It's one of those movies, as you're watching it, you're enjoying it, but then when you go home and you think about it, you're like, oh, wow.
100%. You're like, actually, that kind of sucked.
Yeah, actually, that had a lot of problems. Yeah,
but I think it's a fun Star Wars movie.
Yeah. I wish it had a little bit more balls in a couple places, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, where they should have pulled the trigger, but they didn't. I think...
And then they pulled the trigger in some of the wrong places, I think.
Yeah, I think The Force Awakens without question is the best one of the trilogy.
For me, it goes Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think that opens up the door. Maybe someday down the line we could do a rankings of all the Star Wars movies.
Even though we agree about those movies, there are some that we don't agree about, and I think one day we're going to have to fight it out about it.
Absolutely.
Because Rogue One is a good movie.
And Solo's not that bad. But we'll get there someday. But thank you guys for joining us on another edition of A Cast
to the
Past.
Oh no.
We did it. We survived an episode without Juan. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you too, but Juan will be back next week. Please don't leave us ever alone again. I miss you. I love you. Goodbye.
Come back, Juan.